Yeah, I'm good. How's things been with you?
I'm also good. It's all right these days. Yeah. Um,
Things have changed a
I
bit
guess
since
I feel
I spoke to you.
like has anything changed?
Mm.
Yeah, like a lot of weird stuff. Um, roller coaster ride. Yeah, like yeah. Um, I feel like visceral contractions in my body, like here, very tight. It's always there, like always there. That's that's where I'm stuck at. It's not a problem. Um, it feels very immersive, absorptive, like I'm absorbed into it, but it still feels like it's just painful. It doesn't feel emotionally charged, just here.
Mm.
Yeah.
So has it occurred to you that this will stay around until you hear what it's trying to tell you?
Yeah. I tried listening to it. Um,
And what happened?
does it leads to some sort of release. Um, Physically something shakes up and moves through, but appears again, and then it's like tight again for like hours until I do something like distract myself.
Yeah. Mm.
But then it feels even more comfortable. Like
Yep. Yeah.
yeah.
So can you get that if you tried listening to it but didn't hear what it was trying to tell you, that there's some resistance to hearing what it's trying to tell you.
Mm,
So here we have to accept that we have both conscious and unconscious, the concept of stuff that we're not aware of
mm,
that that gets involved with this kind of stuff. But it's like it's trying to make you aware of it by producing the discomfort that happens,
mm,
but it's not actually getting through to you.
mm.
Yeah.
By the way, can you get my mom? She's in the background speaking. Does that affect your this at all? Can you
I,
hear that?
I can hear it, but it's not worrying me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So what it suggests is that you need to look in a different way. You need to listen in a different way because the ways you've tried haven't yielded results, have they?
Does yeah, not completely. Um, it's like sometimes the my body gets so exhausted. It's just like physicals are in. Like, I don't have anything. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the feeling these days. Like forced to surrender. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that you get exhausted, get tired as a result of something going on inside you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually when the contraction persists, I can't sleep at night. It's really hard to sleep. It's like really big here and here. unless I like tire my mind by numbing myself or doing something completely irrelevant,
Yeah.
or dissociate, I can't sleep. Yeah, it's not like dramatic. I don't mean to say it in a distressing way. It's just, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. Presumably, though, there's a story there that this is telling you something needs to be different.
mm. What do you mean?
Well, if we look at it in the old way, we would just say, well, part of you screams out for it not to be there, not to have this discomfort. But if we look at it in the new way, then we go, this is trying to tell us something, and I just can't. Every which way I've looked at it, it hasn't shown me what it's trying to tell me, or I haven't got what it's trying to tell me.
Mm,
And you could speculate now. Of course, these are stories, so it's there's so much of it that is story. But essentially, you could say or try out, what if the reason that I'm not hearing it is because I don't want to hear it?
mm,
And if you try that out, and if it has a resonance for you, then that's something you can explore a bit further.
mm, mm,
You could normally imagine that because it's unconscious, it's coming from somewhere that we're not aware of. Um, and if that's the case, you can imagine that it's trying to look after you,
mm,
but it's misguided. It's
mm,
creating a problem or making a problem bigger than it actually is, almost certainly.
mm,
So the very attempt to not have it is very largely involved in what it is.
mm.
So would it
Mm.
be the case, do you think, that we can imagine, see, this is the way stories work. We can imagine that, okay, then there's this toing and froing, the conflict going on inside me, and I'm just getting tired from that. But you could also imagine that some part of you is making you feel tired so that you stop fighting it.
Mm,
So you give up.
mm.
So of course there's a story there that something is not the way you would like it to be. Now, if we
Yeah,
extend on that story, we can say there's something wrong. And that then we're getting very much into fantasy land here, aren't we? That because we're presuming to know what it is when we obviously don't know what it is.
mm. That's feel very real in the moment, and it
Mm.
happens. Mm,
Of course, yeah.
yeah,
So if we recognize that what things seem to be is just the way it appears to us. It has no relationship to what it actually is. It's just the way it seems to be because of our way of interpreting things. So we can allow things to seem to be whatever they want to seem to be without engaging them as if that seems to be is actual. We don't know whether it's
mm,
actual. All we know is what it seems to be. And if we recognize it seems to be is just a story about it and it might or might not be accurate, then we don't need to actually get engaged one way or the other.
mm,
So if I tell you this, and I imagine that you already know it, but that is that the way out of these things is by going into them. You don't get away from them by running away or distracting from them or anything. They just get stronger if that's the case. So you've got to invite them in. You've got to willingly allow yourself to get consumed by it in order to emerge out the other side.
mm.
But you already knew that, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yep.
but I think that's all I need to really do actually. But there's always the but that comes. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
tricky part.
So you can say straight away,
Yeah,
well, if I know that that's the case, either I'm not doing it or I'm not doing it in the right way or it's not happening the way it could happen for something to get resolved. If that is, if something needs resolving, it may not. But anyway, so we can easily presume that it's still there because it's unresolved.
mm,
Now,
mm,
resolution doesn't mean going back to the original. It doesn't mean finding out how it got there and why it stayed there and how it's evolved over time or anything like that. It
mm,
simply needs, and I say, I know what the word simply sounds like, but it is looking at it from the right, from afterwards, you'll go, yeah, it is simple. Right?
mm,
It simply is your connection to it. That's the only place you need to look. What is
mm,
your relationship to this? How do you feel about it? Right? Without and whatever turns up is fine. Whatever turns up is what turns up. And so there's no, you can rest assured that this situation has been tailor made for you because you've made it. So
mm,
it's knows exactly what's going on. So
mm,
it is inviting you to see what is your connection to it. How much ownership is there? How much ties you to it? How sticky is it? Kind of there's lots of different ways of putting it, but it is all about your connection to it. And that's not to to promote another story that says, well, if we change our connection to it, it will change. That will happen.
mm,
But if you make that the prime thing, it doesn't work. And so your prime thing cannot be to finish it, fix it, end it, whatever you. But it's perfectly fine if there's a
mm,
desire for that. If that wants to happen, that's fine. That's just there. That means nothing. It's the same as the breeze touching your cheek when you walk outside. It's just stories that have turned up. They mean nothing.
mm,
So it's like that old one, that definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and over, but expecting a different result. Well,
mm,
you're now in the situation of looking for, or better still, inviting a recognition of a way that you haven't done it before to turn up, to look at
mm,
what is your connection to this. And so, of course, the nature of it is going to be look at the content. Look at me, look at me, look at me is what it says. It keeps your attention on the content of what the stories are about. And that is feeling this contraction, feeling what you feel, being exhausted, being unable to sleep, all of that stuff. So that's where your attention goes, because that's where the juice is as far as the story is concerned. But as
mm,
far as you are concerned, or not you, however you want to put it, it is what is a connection. So we can see that there is a story, even though we don't bother and we don't need to look at the details of the story to any great extent. We can see that a story exists. That's enough, right? And that there is some connection to that story. Now that is what you'll find in sensation. If you can examine what are the sensations that are present when the recognition that there is something there going on happens. So you somehow do whatever you need to do to stimulate this, even though even if you just imagine it or remember it enough to get just a taste of it. And then while you've got that taste of that, look for the sensation, and what the sensation that is unique to this particular thing. And that's your portal, that's your doorway in to the connection with it. Now I know that the connection is just another story. It's a belief. And the moment you see the connection itself, and it won't appear, it won't have a label called connection on it, and it won't be obvious what it is. I mean, it, but you'll know it. You'll know it has a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging, a sense of me or I. It'll be personal. That's
the
your
contraction.
well. If the contraction is at a superficial level, so to speak, once you immerse yourself into that contraction, the word contraction is simplistic. It doesn't cut. It doesn't
Mm,
even come close to being able to describe the complexity of what it is you're feeling. So
mm,
it's at that level, beyond labels, beyond description, where the sensation is, that is the portal for you into the connection to that particular story about something going on that needs changing.
mm,
Because if you look at it, and I'm sure you can quite easily, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong anywhere. Even these feelings, even these experiences, they're not wrong. They're not bad. They're just happening. They're just part of the weather. They're just the wind and the clouds and the rain and the sun, and stuff is just happening. But it's in this case, it's tailor made for you.
mm,
And it's saying, Kenneth, I want to tell you something. I want you to listen to me.
mm. What if it's like asking for too much, or like asking me to change in ways that seem impossible, or very hard to do. Uh, like there are certain fixations I have that seem very hard to break out of.
Hmm.
Mm, to just yeah, certain ways I move in life that are like very survival based that I
Mm.
can just fix. Uh, yeah,
Mm.
that's like the feeling. Um, the contraction. When I say contraction, I don't mean like a mental contract. It's a physical contraction. Um, uh, Even the label contraction falls away, but does feel like tight. It's almost like I have uh to really feel it. I have to like break the distance between it. Um, yeah,
Mm.
but like I got something from what you said. Yeah, it is there for a reason.
Yeah. I found it interesting what you were saying about what if it's asking too much? What if it's asking you to, well, it could be any number of ways of putting this, but asking you something that appears to be beyond where you're prepared to go. Would you put it that way?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do
Yeah,
you remember that I said appears to be?
mm.
When
Appears to be. Yeah.
when you said yeah, were you focusing on the appearance of it, or on did you believe what it was actually saying?
It, when it happens, it does feel believable.
Yes.
It really feels. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it and you're good enough for sure, in my mind at least, with your ability to investigate what's going on, to look at things without getting lost in stories about them, to recognize that what it appears to be asking you has got nothing to do with what is actual.
Mm.
It's just an appearance, but that appearance that you have a fear response to tells you something about your expectations, tells you something about what you imagine is going to happen if you go there. And so you end up with this. You've got in and out, up and down, back and forward, all happening at the same time, fighting each other, conflicting things you want and you don't want at the same time.
Mm.
That's where the exhaustion comes from, isn't it? You just simply can't do anything until you get too tired and you lay down. What if you were to examine fantasy that turns up about what it might be asking you that's too much? Can you come
Mm.
up with anything?
It's more on the moment, but generally, like sometimes it's more like uh, maybe having not much armor filters to with family members. Like there are certain dynamics I have with my dad. Sometimes I have to like go beyond that or something. Not beyond, but it's like those won't hold up. Um, or certain ways I move in like career academics that I have not explored out of a fear. Uh, certain those are what comes up like uh, stuff I like compulsively avoid. I don't even know I avoided. Um, but it's very vague. Yeah.
Mm.
The yeah yeah. These
Yeah.
days it just feels like that kind of resistance. It's just I don't want to do that or do this. Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, but sometimes it just it releases and it's like very nice, not exhausting. Sometimes like there, it's just what feels like exhausting.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel scared of life generally.
Mm,
Like before, when fear appears, I would try to make it go away by looking at it fully. Like now it's just I indulge in it, not rumination, but it feels very real.
mm.
Yeah.
So does it turn up for you the idea of giving in, surrendering, accepting whatever is there?
Yeah.
And how successful are you at doing that or letting that happen?
When at some point I reach some level of exhaustion, I it does clear out. When I address the resistance pattern, it somehow clears out. Um, yeah, when I begin addressing it, it just goes down a rabbit hole and figures itself out usually, but it does feel endless. Like it's only a while. After like 3 4 days, I'm again back in uh, some contraction and
Yeah.
distraction.
And you're presuming you're back down the same rabbit hole as you're in the same situation you were before. Is that do you presume that?
I don't like self go into like self-judgmental mode or anything. But are you asking if it's the same issue? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, is it, you say it repeats itself. Is there a progress? Is there an evolution happening, or is it exactly the same thing every time?
No, there's an evolution. I can't say there's not. Yeah.
Mm. So how do you when you say you recognize the value of accepting it, how does that work for you? How do you do that?
How do I accept it? Uh,
Yeah, how do you get what is this mood of acceptance? How do you get into that mood? How do you adopt the attitude, or how do you put on the coat of acceptance?
mm, I just look at where the problem is. What am I avoiding, or like the resistance? And I sort of sit with it, and usually something comes up, maybe like a doubt or like a resistance. And usually I explore the texture and flavor of it, and it comes down. It becomes like centerless. It becomes like there's no edge to it.
Hmm,
Uh, and then it like topples down from there into the body, and the body also becomes like that.
hmm.
But sometimes amidst that, all of a sudden there's like, no, I'm not going there. I don't want to go there. Distraction.
And what's that say? What's that part of you that says that I'm not going?
Uh, as in like it's just saying no. Yeah.
Yeah, is that a protective part, or is that what's
Yeah,
where's it come from?
it feels protective. Yeah, like fear based. Feels like a tinge of anxiety as well, maybe. But
Well,
restless. Yeah,
uh,
restless. It's like um, it's like endless distractions of the mind. Like there's a million things you it's like uh, yeah, yeah, recoil.
hmm. So what do you feel after 3 or 4 days and it turns up again? How do you respond to that?
Uh, uh, Habitually, I would usually distract and again, and um, then at some point I address it again, and it calms down a bit. Yeah. Uh, when it comes back, I just feel more dissatisfied.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems to be asking you to address it each time it turns up. Is that a way of saying it wants your attention?
Mm.
What do you imagine would happen if you kept turning your back on it and saying, I'm not going to give you attention?
Mm.
Would it get louder and more insistent?
I think my behavior would really get dysfunctional. Uh,
So it's got
yeah,
a lot of power if it can make you dysfunctional.
yeah.
Mm. So tell me about your relationship to it. Right? Does it feel like it's bullying you? Does it feel like it's a family member? Does it feel like it's uh, trying to train you? Does it feel like it's what's your relationship to it?
Maybe uh, unsettling uh, in a physical way, like this weird big ball here that's like uh, unusual, bizarre, and makes me feel like it's something I should get rid of because it's hurting my body or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't have an emotional charge to it. Like it doesn't feel like sadness. I don't know. When
Yeah,
I go into it, yeah,
but it does feel like it has power,
yeah.
and it has enough power to demand attention.
Mm, yeah, the attention naturally goes to it. Then it's like when I'm not dissociated.
Mm. So if we played up the fantasy that we talked about a minute ago, where you kept turning your back on it and saying, I'm not going to give you attention, does it get really aggressive? Does it-
Uh, no.
So what happens
Uh,
in your imagination? What happens if you don't give it any attention?
it just comes down as in uh, by not giving attention, I'm basically being numb. Um, like do anything physical, it just disappears into the bottom of my body, and
Mm.
it's not there. Yeah.
that incapacitates you, does it?
Yeah,
Mm.
that mm,
So
that leads me down. Yeah,
uh, it's pretty powerful then. It can say, you give me attention or I'll incapacitate you.
yeah. I can't be present without looking at it, is what I mean. Yeah.
Mm.
If I'm being present and here, it has to be there as well.
Mm. And it shows its presence how?
Through physical tightness
Yeah, with that
only.
contraction. Yeah.
And also dissatisfaction. If I'm numb, it just feels like a lot of dissatisfaction. Like nothing is going my way. Life is pretty miserable.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Life is miserable. It's not life that's miserable, it's you that's miserable. And you're miserable because of how you interpret life.
Mm,
Although you could argue that that's the way it is, but you know what I mean when I say it's your interpretation of that that you're responding to.
mm,
So I don't think you need any new tools. I think what you can do is already very, very adequate. But somehow or other, you're just not applying it right to this situation for it to keep on coming back.
mm,
Now that in itself is a tricky one because what I said was just a story, you know. So and you can develop other stories, bounce other stories off that story. Like, well, if
mm,
I'm not looking right, that therefore I'm looking wrong, and therefore I have to look differently. Therefore, I have to do it differently. And of course, all of those things get off and off and off into something that's not there at all, is it? So what can you
mm,
do? What can you do that is different to what you've done without it being a doing?
mm. What can I do that's different without it being something I do?
Yeah. So don't think about those things.
Mm,
If the very first thought that turns up, you grab that and look at that, and maybe or maybe not, it'll have some value for you. But essentially, the moment you get into a routine where your mind is playing with those things, forget it. You know, there's no point in going down that one any further. So what you really want is what comes up before mind. So mind is simply going to be the postman bringing you the message, uh, and
mm,
and the words or what will come have a good chance of being right simply because they're the first ones that turn up.
mm,
The moment you start thinking about that, you bring in all such sorts of other stuff that's all got to do with distraction anyway. So not good
mm.
value. Yeah.
I just feel like something's there to explore now. Like there's some resistance now, some sort of fear now, being in this group now.
Right.
Uh,
So
uh,
I imagine that you can contact that fear fairly easily. You know, you're good at that, eh? You can get a hold of
yeah,
that feeling of fear now.
yeah.
Yeah.
maybe it's like self-consciousness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, there'll be lots of stories about what it's about, why it's there,
Mm,
and so on. And we want those stories to sound good. We want them to sound legitimate. We don't want them to be a Looney Tunes cartoon kind of reason. We want it to have some credibility, don't we? That reason for it. But all that's just mind stuff. The mind's going to want to not look silly, so it's going to want to come up with a good, serious reason for all of this stuff. When the actual reason, which we don't know,
mm,
probably evaporates into nothing as soon as we approach it. But regardless, it's something that is real for you. So even if you tell yourself and you believe, at least at a certain level, you believe that I have no reason to feel self-conscious. What am I basing what's provoking self-consciousness? It's stories about what they'll think of me. But not just that, unfavorable stories about what they'll think of me. And what's the consequences of that? Oh, I'll feel bad about myself. No other consequences. There's no fine involved. There's no jail time. It's just if they think bad of me, I'm going to feel like I've done something wrong and I'm going to feel really, really bad. So, this feeling of self consciousness, as much as it's uncomfortable, is easy to cope with compared to how bad I'll feel if they don't like me.
mm. Yeah.
But it's all stories. You see that, don't you? I mean, can you come up with one legitimate reason why you would feel self conscious in this group?
Uh, there's no legitimate reason, but the reason like that is like believable for me is that maybe I'm asking the wrong questions or I'm wasting people's time, and also that I'm less than other people, something like that. Something like that is there.
Yeah. You say that one again, and you've just got to laugh, haven't you? I'm less than other people. Uh,
Mm,
I get that you can believe at some level that it's true, whilst at another level, recognizing that it's total bullshit. Can't possibly be
mm,
true. And both of those things exist. It's not like one displaces the other. They're both there, both happening at the same time. So the fact that part of you knows that it's absolute crap, the part of you
yeah.
that believes it hangs on to it, doesn't it? It wants to keep it. It doesn't want to let go. It doesn't want to say, oh, okay, I'll adopt the new belief that says it's all rubbish. None of it matters. Any comparison is just a joke. It's not anything other than a mental exercise that proves absolutely nothing. You know that, yet the part of you that says, uh-uh, it has it has juice, doesn't it?
Mm, yeah.
So if we approach that, instead of saying it's ridiculous and it shouldn't be there, if we say, well, you know what, it is there, but as I get closer and look at it, it's not actually exactly what I thought it was. It's not really about what they'll think of me. It's more about this feeling of something not being the way I think it should be. Huh. How do I think it should be? Oh, I think it should be perfect. Ha! Good luck with that one.
mm,
Can you see? Can you see what I mean about this constant diving down into more detail, looking closer and closer at what it is? And when you get beyond where the words don't work anymore, then you know you're getting close. Whatever words are working, you're only at a superficial level.
mm,
So it
mm,
gets to the point where you go, well, you know what this is actually about is totally irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. It's just, I know it's going to be a story when I get to look at it. I know it's going to be something that I believe to be true once, and I haven't let it go yet. I know all of that, but yet I still have these physical responses to it. And they cause mental responses, and those cause physical responses, and off we go in a helicopter spiral. Yeah. It seems crazy, and there's no explaining it, but that the very worst that we can experience is also the very best that we can experience. So by accepting that it's not a case of from really bad to really good on a sliding scale, it's in fact much more complicated than that, and that we can feel really shit at the same time that accept that it's as
mm,
good for us. There's some value in it for us, even though it feels really shitty, really bad. So when you get at that level, you start looking at it and you go, I can't have any thoughts about it, no matter what I think about it. It's just made
mm,
up story. If I say it's good, it's bad, or this or that, no matter what I say about it, I'm not even getting close to touching it. What it
mm,
actually is unknowable. But what is knowable is that I own it, that it's about me. But it doesn't come fully developed. It doesn't come fully formed what it is. It just has to tickle us. And then we create the rest of the me
mm,
that it's about.
mm,
Take it personally. Yeah.
mm, mm. Yeah, it feels like tickling. Something's like tickling, like moving my face this way and um like trying to move in a weird way. Um yeah. Uh like I'm not uh I don't even know it's happening until oh this is happening. Like,
Mm. What I'm wanting you to experience is when you say this is happening, that you recognize that you can't pin down what this is.
mm,
It's
yeah.
it, it's too complicated, it's too subtle, it's too whatever, it's just not possible. So we can accept that it's a mystery.
Mm,
And then we can just step back and again just look for that bit of how does it connect? How do we connect to
mm,
it? And if you
mm,
if you can isolate that feeling of belonging in the body, that sensation that you call belonging, right? That's also those threads go out to or come out from me, mine, I, all that stuff. If you can see them, they're just really thin threads, cotton. You can just
mm,
almost
mm,
snip them just by recognizing that it's the connection is the only valid thing. You don't need to hunt down what it's all about at all.
mm,
That's just another distraction, in fact, and that's going to make them stronger. So yeah, looking for that really subtle feeling. Now the way the way to get into that feeling is to relax to the point where the feelings start to separate, where the things start to become more obvious, the details in them. Uh, So
mm,
it's a case of just allowing and relaxing and watching. And at this point you're not involved in the content of that story because you're looking at your connection to the story itself. And you can recognize that there's a story there without knowing anything about what it's about. So the fact of a story existing that you're looking for the connection to that, nothing to do with what it's about.
mm,
I feel like you're like one of those. I don't know. I'm just making it up, a kaleidoscope or something in a jar, and we shake it all up, and then we let it settle, and it'll come out, and then there's Chanath all looking the way he looks. Yeah.
mm,
You've got all the tools, man. You've got everything you need to do it. You just got to work out the right
mm,
application or something. And you don't work it out, like not think about it. You just allow whatever turns up to direct you, and it will. Yeah.
mm,
I mean, it's great that your body is as alive as what it is in its ability to tell you that stuff is happening is brilliant. You'd be amazed at how many people can't feel sensations. It's it's
mm,
pretty a lot more common than you'd imagine. Your body's really good at that one. You can
mm,
get into them. Yeah.
mm.
Do you get the thing about making something out of nothing? Do you get the idea that you create a self when you own something?
Mm.
It's not like they're already existing. It's not like there's a you and there's a thing and they're already there. They're dynamic. They happen in
Yeah.
in action. Yeah,
Mm. No, I did get something from what she said. Yeah.
great. Yeah. Ah, well, just relax and enjoy, and we'll hone things as needed. But yeah, I reckon you're in a good place as much as it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
Mm,
Hmm. Was any of that stuff useful for you, Jack?
Too useful. Um, is it Chanath? Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
yeah.
There were points where I was nodding along. I was like, oh, yep, that's exactly what's going on right now. And Vince was saying all the right things. So thank you for that, both of you. Um, Vince, is it okay if I ask a question? Or Vince and Marius? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. If we go for it.
Okay, so I've been at least trying to work with this idea of direct experience, of like, what can I see, hear, and feel around me that's not a story. Um, the problem is, or what I'm going to call a problem, is that it is very difficult for me. And it feels extremely forced. So like I'll be like trying to concentrate on looking, and then it's like, oh, there's a thoughts in the way, and I'm like, get out of the way. Um, but then that starts to feel like managing, and you start getting those like alarm bells of like it's going wrong, and then more thoughts get in the way, and then it's like, am I looking at my thought, or am I actually looking? Am I doing like it's just a mess. And it feels too doing to be what is like it feels like I'm over managing when the I kind of thought or maybe had the expectation that the point was like to just be or to not do. But also like if I don't do anything, I can spend my entire day like in my head and my thoughts. So like there's this story of a need to get out of that. Um, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say so far.
Do you, can I remind you that you're not doing any of that?
Yes, you can remind me of that. Could you elaborate, please?
Well, you, so let's say you're trying to feel into direct experience, and then a thought comes in and say, or a thought comes in, and then you're trying to push away the thought. Um, and then another thought comes in and says that this is feels like doing. This feels like too much managing. What is happening there is just that there's a thought about feeling into direct experience, and there's a thought about whatever comes up, and then there's a new thought about this feels like managing. None of that is your doing. That is just happening. There's no doer in that picture.
Okay, heard.
So
I think I
to
want to
kind of
say that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
so to please your mind a little bit, um, if uh, if you can see what I just said, um, you can probably also feel into that this is a process of the system getting more and more into direct experience. So you're already playing with direct experience, yes. Sometimes thoughts come in when you're doing that, and then there's judgmental thoughts on top of that happening. But the fact that the direct experience play is already happening tells me that your system is already aligning to more and more to direct experience. Even though you do have judgmental thoughts and thoughts in the way, it's still happening. But you believe that you're doing it, so the thoughts are judging that this isn't happening as you would like it to happen.
Are you saying that it's the initial belief that I'm doing the seeing in the first place that makes me prone to believing in the judgmental thoughts after the fact?
Yeah, believe in doership, yes.
Okay.
Before that, there's the belief in somebody being there at all.
Yeah.
A perspective that's really probably valuable that you may or may not have seen so far is that you're not trying to kill a self. You're not trying to get rid of a doer. those things never actually existed. They just seems to exist. So this is really much more a subtractive process rather than an additive process. So what we're looking to do is to remove beliefs rather than give you new beliefs. So you can tell yourself there's no self there all you like. That's not going to change anything for you until you can actually see how the organism operates without being controlled. It might happen next time you walk across the room and you watch your feet do what the feet do, and you go, "Oh, fuck, I didn't do that. It just happened. I wonder what else just happens." In fact, everything just happens. The whole idea that there's a self doing it is just the movie playing on the wall in the back of the room.
Okay.
You're not going to go from doing to not doing.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm at. Is like I'm intellectually understanding what you're saying, maybe. And then at the same time, I'm gonna go tomorrow and stare at something just to stare, and it's gonna feel like me, and I'm gonna be lost in this again.
Yep. Well, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a great thing that can happen? You can go there and sit and stare and get lost and all that can happen, and yet it's all just happening. How amazing is that?
You know, the value of feeling into direct experience is feeling the contrast from not being in the dream. It's not like a place you need to stay forever, so to speak. You won't stay forever.
Yeah.
So, you know, in our previous talks, I've kind of the effort was to show what the dream was made of, so that you kind of see clearly, you know, when you're instead of thinking that the dream is real, you can play in the dream. You can see when you're in the dream and when you're not, so to speak. You're always in the dream, but
Huh. Okay.
Do you
Yeah,
imagine
yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
do you imagine that Marius goes through the day having direct experience every moment?
Maybe not every moment, but I think a lot of moments. Uh, I don't know.
What if I said that here's another story, and that story is that when stories are not around, direct experience happens. Or if a story is around and we don't engage with it, direct experience happens.
Um, is anybody able to clarify like what un what raw unprocessed sensory input is like relative to like storied input? Because like I read a page, I read the my interpretation of the English words. Like, are you guys just like staring at paper with black dots on them, or like how?
Hmm.
I don't-
No, no.
y- yeah, you know, I mean, kind of. Um, it's it's just a relaxed attention is more relaxed and there's no concept put on the experience. So it's just open. As soon as we put a thought or a concept into the experience, we limit the experience to that thought or concept.
Have you had a
Did
direct
that make
experience?
sense?
I'm sorry, Vince, what'd you say?
Have you had a direct experience? Have you had the experience of directly experiencing something without a story changing it?
Um, I'm going to guess the answer is yes. I can't say I really know for sure.
Mm. All right, so let's
Yeah.
whether you're remembering or whether you're imagining, it doesn't matter. Can you imagine that the way the brain works, predictive organ, and you, it's only interested in getting sufficient information for it to make a prediction, and then it relates to that prediction rather than what is actually out there. This is the way the brain works. It's designed somehow or other. This is a story, of course. It's designed to be energy efficient. And so what it does is it worked out a long time ago in evolution that if we have habits, it requires no brain power. Right? So you don't have to think about doing up your buttons or your shoelaces or your belt or anything like that. That all happens automatically because of habit, and it saves energy. No thoughts required. That's a direct experience. Guess what? You don't remember yourself doing it most of the time. You can logically go, oh, well, I must have tied my shoelaces because they're tied, but you can't remember doing it because there was no mind involved at all when it happened. It just happened. It was a direct experience. Do you want to go through life not remembering anything that happens?
I do enjoy remembering things. I'll say that. Um, I could, I'm inclined to think that's attachment and selfing. But yeah, I like my memories sometimes.
Mm. They make you feel good, eh?
Yep.
Mm. And you know what? Here's a good trick. That feeling, that good feeling that you get out of those memories, that's a direct experience. Just to complicate issues, it's not like you're having a physical encounter. It's still based on a fantasy, but the result of it is experience.
Uh,
But anyway, that just complicates issues to talk about it like that at this stage. When you
no, that
recognize
makes
that
sense.
our society is essentially built on language, right? We have words for institutions. We have words for everything. The problem is, well, it's not a problem, but one of the things that happens is that when we have a label for something, we confine what we relate to what's underneath that label. And this is what Marius was saying about as soon as you have a direct experience, there is no label. There is just what? Sensory input. And so without the label to restrict it into something small, it becomes expansive. Now, what it is, you can't define because that's restricting it again. You can't do that. As soon as you try and describe it, you're limiting it. So the mind does constantly limit things. And the only purpose for you to have a direct experience, that's what direct experience is about at Liberation Unleashed, etc., is for you to recognize the difference between what is actual, and that is you're experiencing, and what is conceptual, and that is everything else. The problem is society takes a whole lot of those conceptual things and relates to them as if they were actual. And really, that's what you're learning now is things aren't actual because of what's said about them. Things are actual because of how they trigger the senses and they impact us.
So even experiencing thoughts could be said to be direct experience. It's just
Yeah.
that you're directly experiencing concepts.
Yeah.
But that's not really what you're getting at, or what we're
It's,
going for.
it's a bit of a diversion, really, that one. You'll see it
Okay.
later, but at the moment it's just not relevant. The relevant thing is that the bulk, 99% of your thoughts are total bullshit and they lead you astray, so drop them.
Okay.
Don't do it. That doesn't work. Does it put you in a corner? Do you feel a bit like,
It
like,
feels like a crossroads because you say like don't do it, so I'm like, okay, so do nothing, or
well, that's a
Yeah.
doing.
yeah, so that's a doing, so that can't be right. Um, but like then I'm still at the crossroads.
Yep.
Um,
Can't move. You can't go down. Whichever road you go to go down, it's the wrong one. You can't move. So what do? You can stand still, but you might as well sit.
that's still a move if you choose it.
Yeah.
Um, it almost seems like whichever one you go down is the one you go down.
That's right. And if you find yourself going down one without having decided to go down it, then it probably is the right one. But it's like it transformed from the being the wrong one when you thought you'll go and do it to being the right one when you just found your feet walking down it.
Oh,
So it's not in the thing that's out there. It's not in it. It's in your relationship to it always.
what do you mean, or what do you mean by that last part?
Well, it's never about what the stories are about, whatever the thoughts are about, what the content of those thoughts are. It's never about that. They're all diversions. They're just suck-ins.
Okay.
But see, I can't say anything without it generating something equally false. So to say your thoughts are bullshit is not to say dismiss them or that they're wrong or that you shouldn't engage with them or anything like that. Because that's not something you can do. You can't choose to do any of that or not do any of that. But you can recognize that you habitually have a certain relationship with certain thoughts. And again, it's not to say there's anything wrong with that. By simply recognizing that happens is enough to loosen the grip, so to speak.
I think it sometimes can feel, or it sometimes can be unhelpful to tell people that don't do it or you can't do it, because it's, again, it's kind of leading back to the same trap as Jack was in coming into this, believing that he's doing any of it. So the doer is hearing, don't do it.
Mm.
You know, it doesn't make sense. It just complicates things.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, spot on with that one. And then it's my mind still likes to problematize it. Like, yeah, okay, there's no one here doing it, but like, I still get out of bed or stay in bed. Dishes are not dishes, right?
Stay in bed.
Uh,
No, you can get out of bed or stay in bed. That happens.
okay. Um, or before that, okay, it happens, but there's a thought here, like, no, no,
Okay, this is
it's
the key
yeah,
point.
no, yeah.
That thought's there, and you assume that the thought is the cause of the action, and that's wrong. There's the thought there, and there's the action, and they're not actually joined up. The
So
thought,
I've heard you say that, and I've seen what you've talked about as far as like your body decides before you, but that's never been my experience necessarily. Except for like, I've noticed like, okay, walking is happening and that type of thing. But I don't think I've ever had like a thought says this thing, I'm gonna do the opposite. It's usually like pretty in sync with each other.
and that's partly because you very conveniently forget the things where thoughts said one thing and then something other than that happened. And that happens quite a lot, but you don't remember it. But you do remember when they do when they aligned.
That's a good point. The problem is I've forgotten that, so it's kind of yeah. We're back to square right here. I don't know.
But Vince, I've I've noticed in myself, it's a bit like you say that you see a glass of water, and then an impulse comes to have a drink. You remember? Mm, but it may be not conscious. You don't even know that you noticed this glass of water. You only know that suddenly you think I have a drink. And with thoughts, it's similar, that a thought comes and it's like seeing a glass of water.
Mm.
If an image of I have a work to do, I have a work to do, I have a work to do comes, then the decision follows.
I think I I get into maybe arguments in my head about it. Like a thought will come and then it'll turn into, oh, but that's just a thought. So then should I do it or not do it? Oh, but I'm not actually doing it. Oh, but just it's the sticky notes on top of sticky notes, but I'm still in this like paralysis space.
If you look closely, before any action happens, there is going to be an impulse that drives that action. And the narrative on top of all of that is just narrative. It's actually the impulse that leads to another action. So get intimate with the impulse. Notice what what exactly happened before you got up and did whatever you ended up doing. When you see that mechanism clearly, you can also see the mechanism that drives quote unquote unhealthy behavior, for example. There's some impulse, some sensation that feels uncomfortable enough that the mind wants to get up, move away from that, and do something.
Okay. Thank you.
You mentioned a moment ago a state of paralysis. And rather than have that just as a passing thing, I say to you, that's a diamond. That's a really valuable place for you to be in that state of paralysis where you can't move. No matter what, you can't think anything, you can't say anything, you can't do anything. Nothing can happen because you've got all these equal and opposing forces all happening at the same time. That state, if you can anchor what it feels like to be in that state, that's the perfect place to look at, not looking for solutions, rather looking at what is actually present. That's a brilliant place because it's true. It's actual. There is nothing you can do. There is nothing you can produce or create that's going to fix this situation. The only thing you can do is recognize that paralysis is good and enjoy staying still. And something will offer itself.
Okay. All right. I think I'm good. Thank you, guys.
And be patient. Everything happens the way it's meant to. Well, that's a good story anyway. What's been different for you in the last 24 hours, Tammy?
Hey, Vince. In the last 24, I guess 2 or 3 things. One is I got caught up a lot yesterday in just the physical and mental state. There was just a lot of pain and irritability, and I just couldn't get out of it. I was cursing at ChatGPT. So it was one of those kind of evenings. and I couldn't get out of it. And then this morning, when I was about to get on, I was like, oh, the stomach ache is still there. Maybe I should take something. So Advil happened 45 minutes ago, so it's a bit saner. But yeah, just very, very much getting caught up in the stuff and trying to solve it. And that led to like other thoughts about how, yeah, thoughts are stories and stuff, but it still, and I guess not to do so much with that, but more about what do we do with the fact that it seems real to me that I need to solve certain things and that certain things are needed for the health and happiness. So whether that's certain foods that are needed for my illness and not other foods, whether it's relationships, people, fresh air, like that certain conditions are needed for health and happiness, and that I have to go and do those. So I guess would we not dispute that those are needed, but saying that there's no doer and those will happen or not happen? And then the third thing that happened was um there was a second where like I'm always the the secondary stories and stuff that go on here are mostly about um that stuff is caused by my personality or my outlook or my perspective, and I've caused everything this kind of thing and I should fix it, and something's wrong with me, this kind of narrative. And if I was better, then pain wouldn't happen, illness wouldn't happen, I would already be enlightened, whatever the narrative is. And that I'm causing everything. And like when I get jumpier stuff, then that's me causing it again by how I see things. But the other day I had an experience where the body jumped at a sound, and there definitely was no story or awareness beforehand. So I was like, aha, the body did it. It's not my fault. It's not me. It just happened. So it was like a second where I was like, I didn't do that one. Um, and of course I still feel like I do all the other ones. So it still feels, but it was just a second of like, maybe the body does do stuff and it doesn't have to do with all the stories and stuff. But then there are still stories about, well, if I worked on my personality or if I was different, that wouldn't happen. And so there's always going back into stories. And then just the thought that some of the stories seem true, especially about that we need stuff. Um, yeah. Anyway, that's where I am. Um, kind of aware that things are stories, but also thinking that some of them are still needed or true, and just really getting caught up in when there's physical pain, contraction, irritability, just really get caught up in the cycle of cursing and trying to solve it.
Mm. Mm. I guess the bit that caught me most was the idea that some stories are true. If we look at that a little bit in detail, we might go, well, let's not discuss a characteristic of the story as containing truth, but rather let's say that that story might be more accurate in terms of what it points to. But every story just points to something. The stories themselves have no intrinsic truth in them. They can never have, even if they point to something that is very accurate. We can only say that's just the nature of that story and what it points to. So, if I've given you the idea that stories shouldn't happen, that's not my intention. I don't. Stories are going to happen when stories happen. it's not about the story. It's never about what the story is about. It's always about what's the purpose of it being there. And to find that out, you never look at the content of the story. You know, it may or may not be relative to the reason why the story turned up. It doesn't matter. It's a case of why did that story appear more than what is that story about. 100% more than what is the story about. So if a story is accurate and it seems to be true, that's irrelevant. It's got nothing to do with it's no better or worse than if a story is wildly inaccurate. In both cases, they're still stories. They're just stories. If you say the story that I need the right nutrition in order to be healthy, that's true. Well, of course it's true. So what? How do you then relate to that story? Do you feel guilty when you eat rubbish? Do you feel superior
I
when
feel anxious about it being available or not. And it's just a thing that needs to be done and that provokes anxiety, worry. In other words, it just feels like there's things that need to be done for the health and happiness. And that provokes doership, worry, anxiety, a revving up in the body.
can you see how that really springboards off what you first said? The first sentence was things need to be done. And of course that provokes the idea of doership. So you haven't yet allowed any experience that you've had where things will happen without being driven by the mind to resonate with you. And I'm sure you've had those experiences where things will happen. So you've been educated enough to know what's healthy to eat and what's good about this and not good about that. You know all of that stuff. So you don't have to think about it anymore. Your body will take care of that. It doesn't require a mental sergeant at arms disciplinarian to run the show in order for that to happen. It will happen. You just have to be trusting that it will happen. And it's a bit of an irony in a way, because once you are trusting, then that happens and then you become more trusting. So in the beginning, it's hard to trust that it will happen when you think that it's only ever been done because you did it.
Yeah, and also just feels like I'm hanging by a thread. In other words, it feels like everything is very tenuous and hanging by a thread, and that we're so fragile and stuff. In other words, it's not so much about me choosing it, it's about is there availability in the stores? And sometimes there isn't. And then it's just about taking care of business and will I have energy to go do that? And that we need relationships and we need work and we need, in other words, it just seems like a continuous thing in the human life. It's not like it's one and done. It's like every day you need to make sure that things are available, and we depend on a lot of things. I guess that's my feeling, and things need to happen, and yeah, especially when there's a lot of pain in the body or contraction and stuff in the mind. There's always a drive to solve that and to make sure what I already know needs to be taken care of is taken care of and available, and to also solve for things that are not yet solved. So it's a very strong driving force, pain and unrest and contraction, and that spirals the stories as well. Like when there's a better feeling and stuff, I can sink into, oh, it'll just happen, whatever it is, I can sink into more of a being, but the pain kind of drives a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety and stories. Yeah.
anything unpleasant provokes us into a defensive escapism, usually.
Yeah, and I've
Tell
had the
me,
feeling like, sorry.
who is asking all of these questions? Who needs answers to everything that you're asking now? Who comes up with new stuff to be confirmed or not confirmed?
Me or my mind? I don't know.
I'm not looking for you to answer, I'm looking for you to look.
Where? How do I look?
Well, can you find anyone that needs all of these answers?
This organism who's sitting here with a stomach ache.
Isn't that just a thought?
You mean otherwise it would just be a body with a stomach ache and no one needing to solve it?
Yeah, you could say that. But again, you're reaching for a mental conclusion or a mental answer to what I'm pointing to. But what happens if you stop asking questions? What's here?
So I think that's what I was just about to say before, that like on meetings such as this or whatever, I'm sometimes able to just like relax and dissolve into whatever sensations are there. But that's like not realistic for my life kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, okay, that's a really nice, cool thing that can happen in these states where I can like just be and melt into it and then it all transforms and eases and stuff. But I can't seem to access that much when not in meetings. And it also is like I can't just be a puddle. I need to be a person and like do stuff. You know what I mean? I can't just lie around melting into the sensation of my stomach ache.
Do you need to analyze everything that happens for it to happen? Or can a stomach ache just lead to an action to go take some medicine and let that be that?
I guess I feel that that's a cop out and I should be using it to like become enlightened or something. And like, then I find that like, I just end up sitting for hours and hours and days in tremendous pain and not taking anything. And yeah, all right, maybe that's just stupid. I don't know. But I kind of
I'm not
feel like,
saying you shouldn't take anything. I'm just saying stomach ache equals action, taking medicine, and there's no need for a story around it. There's no need to analyze if you should or shouldn't do if that is, somehow doership or managing or anything. All of that is the extra. The thought medicine isn't selfing.
sorry, can you repeat the last few words?
So the thought I should go take some medicine isn't the problem, but it's the problem or I'm going to call it a problem. The problem is analyzing if that is doing, managing, if I should be doing that or if I shouldn't be doing that, because that means that it's selfing or not.
It's, I don't know if so much selfing, but more like I'm stuck in the story and that's why there's pain and I should get out of it because taking medicine is just um getting into a cycle of more harming the body rather than healing it. In other words, that I should be able to just melt it without the need for medicine. Is that what you call selfing, I guess?
I mean, the whole story about what you just said. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, taking medicine for something isn't wrong. That's okay. I don't have any problem with that. I'm just saying that the whole analysis about should or shouldn't be doing it isn't necessary. You can do that if you want, but see that as, you know, overlay. The impulse was pain in the stomach. The action was taking medicine.
Yeah, I just find myself not taking it, and that can ruin hours where I can't move and I'm just in pain. And just then the mind starts to circle like, I don't always realize it's physical pain at first. I just think I'm being lazy or something. And then it's the whole thing. And then my day will end up whatever. And then in the night, I'll find myself groaning. And then I'll be like, oh, it was pain. Why did you ruin your day? You should have taken something. That's more how it goes. It's not like, I'm like, ooh, stomachache. Let me be. In other words, it's more like, it's very hard for me to differentiate what the pain is. And so it just instigates a desire for like to heal it on a more spiritual level rather than physical, because I'm not always aware that it's a pain at first. I don't know. It's like complicated in my brain. Sorry, you guys. It's very complex in here.
Yeah, that's part of what we're looking to develop. That is the ability. I was going to. That's not the right word. We're looking to be able to zoom in and see details about things. See, so when you say I've got a pain in the stomach, you actually create something. That's not to say that the pain wasn't there, but what you actually do is you create an entity by calling it a pain and giving it a place. And to do that, you have to remain zoomed out to a fair extent, and you're really looking at your idea of what it is rather than what it actually is. And so,
Yeah, and I can go into it when I'm in meetings, and then I kind of melt into it. And that was me talking about me becoming a puddle and the thing kind of melting. But I can't seem to do that on my own.
yeah,
Like when you talk, I can just kind of lie down and things start to just diffuse kind of and just melt rather than being like me contracted around a spot in the stomach.
okay,
But
perfect. So don't for a moment give me any credibility about that happening, right? That it's your response to what is going on that you're experiencing. It's you. You're doing it. You just don't know what it is you're doing because you're saying, "Oh, it's because I'm listening to what's going on in the meeting or something."
right, which reinforces my idea that everything in me depends on others to be happy. And that's why everything feels so tenuous. Like I can melt into stuff during a meeting, but not without it. So it just seems
Mm.
yeah. Like
So,
it seems certain things are needed to cause
okay, what I
joy,
imagine
happiness, melting. Yeah.
is to explain that is that in the meeting, we're focusing on details. And when you're not in the meeting, you're zoomed right out and you're relating to an idea rather than to what is actual.
Hmm.
And that's why it feels a bit helpless. That's why you're not even sure if it's you doing it, or and does it mean something about your character or your personality or something that needs to be fixed or changed. And off we go. You know, it was that's a that, that's a a really busy route to get stuck in.
Oh yeah.
But if you when you got that what you called a stomach ache, and it's a perfectly reasonable thing to call it a stomach ache, because it's somewhat accurate, that story about it, but it's not a thing. It's an experience that you're having, and that experience is could be described as unpleasant, uh, even painful. But essentially, it's not a thing called a stomach ache. It's an experience that is unpleasant. That's what it is, but it isn't an it. That's just a way of describing what your experience is. So you get that? What we have to do is change from it being an it, which it is when you've got a label for it, like stomach ache. Clearly, that's an it. It's a label that's making it into something, and you're creating something that you're relating to, and you're not actually relating to the sensations in the stomach that you were initially described as an ache. Do you get the difference between relating to your idea of it and relating to what is actually there?
I do. And as you're speaking, a lot of thoughts were racing as they do. And my two thoughts were, yes, I fully understand. And again, I could kind of do that sometimes in meetings, but not when I'm alone. And now I'm thinking that my experience in life is extremely, sometimes it's regular and fun and whatever, but a lot of times it's extremely painful and weird and hard and alone. So, like, whether it's the physical stuff coming up or weird mental states or thoughts, I just have a lot of weird stuff going on.
Mm.
And it's a little scary for me to do that. And so I contract around it and I plow through and I go to work and I function and I kind of contract around it all to like stop off the blood supply to all of that and
Yeah.
kind of just and function and burrow through. And so right now I'm in a dichotomy of like either I'm in pool puddle mush mode in a meeting, some non-dual high spiritual stuff where I can melt into my experience, or I have to contract, man up, tense my whole body and go plow through my day because that's a and have to not sense into any of those weird mind states, weird thoughts, and weird emotions and sensations that are going on. And
Right.
now I'm thinking maybe I could sense into it. Let's say someone's supposed to come over now and we're supposed to play something and then we're supposed to perform something. And I'm like, how am I going to do that with my stomach? And it's either, I took some stuff, but it's not helping fully. And it's like either I can shut off and either I can melt into a pool, but then I'm lying down and I can't function, or I
Yeah.
can contract and shut off. But now I'm thinking, what if I allowed that whole like feeling faint and dizzy and stomach and all these very intense and weird thoughts and sensations and stuff go on while I'm doing that. But it's
Yes.
a little scary and weird to function with all that going on. It's as if
Yeah.
I'm like in some weird alternate reality of like feeling faint and dizzy and pains. It's not really fun, but I guess I can try
I get that. But
to
I'm excited when I hear you say that. That's wonderful. That is really good. Right. So what you're doing is you're going, oh, how I used to think it was, maybe it's not. And you're opening up possibilities. The possibility that you can be mush and still function, that you can do those things while you can experience this stuff while you're doing those things. That is wonderful. That is good stuff. You're
it's just very intense, Vince. Even as I say it now and I'm trying to do it, it's like overwhelming me, the pain, and then I just feel dizzy and faint. It's just such intense experiences. It's really very unpleasant. I don't know.
yeah.
It's scary and unpleasant, and I don't know, this is not fun to go through it like this. Do you think like it'll ever ease up, or is that just my destiny to suffer like this? I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, why am I laughing? It's I can't imagine you having to suffer every day for the rest of your life on this path. Yeah. But yeah, I do hear you, and I'm not making light of it. Um, I do get what you say. But the irony, and I kind of imagine you know, at least you've got a sneaking suspicion about the irony, and that is that it's when you stop fighting this stuff, it ceases to have the magnitude that you now experience.
well, I will ask you there, stop fighting this stuff. Does that mean stop fighting the stomachache and the spiraling and the fainting, or stop fighting the fact that I'm contracting against it? And maybe just contract and allow myself to continue contracting and calling it a stomachache and plowing through. Will one more be helpful on this path or no? In other words, will letting go of the contraction and seeing what's actually here when I don't do that be helpful, or no, it's too overwhelming and I can't function, and it's fine that there's both, that there's pain and contraction against it and labeling it and not wanting to feel it. Is that okay on this path or no?
It's all okay, every bit of it. No matter what you can come up with, it is okay. So it's not. It's like, how do I know what's the right thing to do? Well, there is no right thing to do. How do I know what's the best way? Well, there's no best way either. How do I know what I shouldn't do? Well, there's nothing you shouldn't do. So there's no answers. There's no good or not good, right or wrong. There's none of that that you just love to hear. You want a recipe. You know, it's homework again. Let's write these things down. Step 1, 2, and 3 for you. That's what you're seeking out, but that's the uncertainty in you that's seeking that out. But what I'm saying is, live with the uncertainty as much as you can, and when you can't, then that's okay. Whatever you do, you know, be experimental in
Mm.
trying out and seeing the consequences of. But recognizing what it is. See, it's like we're teaching somebody to read here, and what we're saying is what you're looking for in these words is not in the words themselves, but what they point to. Right. So treat it like poetry, for example. You know, poetry is great. I love haiku. I love the restrictions of 3 lines with 5, 7, and 5 syllables in it. You know, you've got to say something in very few words, and so you have to be really imaginative in how you do it. Well, being poetic is like that. You're saying way more than what the words are saying because you're invoking something else. Well, that's what we're looking for here with all of this. What is what is being evoked with what is happening? And the stories that you come up with are only partial. They're not real. They don't really point to what's actually there.
Yeah. And I guess lots of fear comes up as well of like, oh my God, is the pain only going to get worse? I need to solve this. So that goes into a whole spiral of anxiety and thinking. So that's where it generally goes
Can you
into, oh
get?
my, I must fix this. Yeah.
Can you see that when the fear comes up, that's shouting out at you, stay away, keep away from here. Can you get that connection between the fear and that message?
Stay away from sensing.
Or from wherever the fear came from. When the fear turned up, it was coming out of a place that it was wanting you to not go near. That's the whole purpose of fear. Stay away.
For me, it feels like it's trying to drive me into action of like, solve this. Why are you not feeling well? Does it have to do with this illness? Is it something else? How can you solve it? Will it get worse? It's that kind of thing of
Mm,
go, 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 go.
yeah. And you can see that process makes the whole thing worse, doesn't it? Or do you think that that process is stopping you from destruction?
Yeah, it's keeping me afloat. That's what it feels like. I'm treading water, desperately trying to stay above everything. Yeah.
See, I wasn't getting that. I was seeing that only how all of that stuff, those stories, just make everything worse.
Hmm.
And you're seeing it as keeping you safe, keeping you,
Yeah.
yeah. I wonder if both could be true. It
Hmm.
keeps you afloat and it makes things worse.
You know, the self is um it's fueled by fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of not knowing, fear of emptiness, fear of not knowing
Yeah.
what's next. And I think maybe it would be a good idea to get intimate with seeing thoughts that keep taking you into a sense of continuity, a sense of there is something behind you and in front of you.
Mm.
The only
Yeah.
actual thing that is it's right here, right now. But you are living mostly in a fantasy, in kind of what will happen next. I need to protect myself to prevent something terrible happening.
Oh, have you met me? Yeah.
So to get intimate with the thoughts taking you into that f- fantasy future, the looking in that needs to kind of be installed into your system, so to speak.
First of all, can you say that again? And second of all, I think that's where I started of with some thoughts seem to be true, because it does seem to be true that I do need to take care of things in order for health and happiness. And that's where I guess I get confused of like, but isn't it true that I need to take care of my health and figure things out and get the right foods and get work and get relationship? In other words, isn't it true that we need those things to take care of? And that's where the question is. Like it seems that they're true.
Yeah, but you're creating something out of nothing. You're creating a question that doesn't need an answer right now. Like if you need to do something to be healthy or happy right now, you will do it. But your question is asked because you're kind of projecting, you're kind of making a scenario that doesn't exist now.
But I'm going to need food tomorrow, so I need to shop today. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get I'm trying to understand. Sorry if I'm
So if you go into the kitchen and you notice that there is not enough food, then that is happening now. And then you have an intention to go to the shop. There's nothing wrong with that.
hmm
But you're going this way, Tammy. You're not going into the kitchen and seeing that there's the fruit bowl is empty and the intention rising to get some fruit. No, you're going, if I go into the kitchen and I don't find anything there, then I'm going to have to go to the shop. And if I go to the shop, I'm going to have to organise transport, and I'm going to have to make sure I've got enough money, and maybe they won't have what I'm after. And your story goes on and on and on and on and on, and you get yourself really worked up over the possibility that it's going to all fall apart. It won't work. You won't be able or whatever. And so
Mhm.
you're not waiting until you go into the kitchen and spying the empty fruit bowl. You're imagining going into the kitchen and that not only is the fruit bowl empty, but the sugar bowl's empty as well, and there's no eggs, and you need bread, and you've got to go, and you got somebody coming, and you're too busy, and you can see what I mean. It escalates into a whole drama, a whole movie. Every time you go with those thoughts, especially when you say, but they're true, you end up creating this huge drama that you relate to. No wonder you're exhausted. No wonder you've got a stomach ache. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, you can.
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. It's just, what do I do? It seems true to me, and this just keeps happening. So I don't know how to get out of it. But
Well, it was just like I just said, start looking at the mind creating these fantasies outside of now. The more you give attention to thoughts that is out, like that is projected either into the future or into the past, the more a sense of self you are holding up. The more the sense of a you um, having a continued process, the illusion of that, are you feeding?
what do you mean by the illusion of a continued process?
Well, you believe that for you, I'm guessing your experience is that you have this storyline from the past into the future, but and that's your experience, but you're not experience what's actually happening, which is only here. There is no past existing now, and there is no future existing now.
Do you mean attend more to what's happening than the stories about the past or future?
Yeah, notice when the mind goes to projecting into the future or into the past, and uh, and see how that creates an illusion of continuity.
So you're saying thoughts about taking care of business, like whatever, having a fantasy about some piece of music I want people to do, and then writing stuff and calling them, that's all okay to imagine the future and take action towards it. But then just the stories around it to try to, like, worries around it and stories around it.
Tammy, could I jump in really quick? Is that okay?
Go, Jack.
Right now, I think you're trying to resolve some doubt of not knowing. That's why you're asking all of these questions. What happens right now if you just take a big old deep breath? Don't try to resolve anything. Just let it be. The problem is you will never be able to fully resolve the doubt. There's just so much you can't know. Maybe nothing you really can know. And yet you're gonna keep going on life and do just fine. I don't think any of us have any doubts that you're not gonna continue to live life. You can't resolve that though, and the only thing you really can do is find calm right here.
When you're saying you can't resolve that, you mean
There's no clarity that will bring you what you want. You're not going to feel relieved.
that life will be
Our,
okay, you
our,
mean?
yeah, our answers to your questions will not help you. You just need to, sorry, our answers will not bring you this sense of like, okay, I know what to do. I have all the right answers. That's not coming. You can only just trust that it's going to be okay and just calm down.
You can even see that the questions themselves is what's creating the sense of a problem. If there is no question, if there is no thoughts about uncertainty, there is no uncertainty.
And there's no self. So here's an interesting little video that turned up here. That problem that gets created when you think about it is actually the self.
Mm-hmm.
And only the self has got the label of a problem, but it is the ownership of what that's about, which is the self. It's the ownership that you're creating. So you've got these problems, these things that you call problems that need resolution, and it's the needing resolution that actually creates the problem. If all of those things were there and you just went, oh, they don't matter, there's no problem and there's no self. But
If what things were there?
well, these stories,
Thoughts?
in our metaphorical trip to the shop about getting food for the kitchen, that's the problem. And so when
Vince,
You mean
because I heard that, Tammy, you care so much about being healthy and happy that it makes you unhealthy and unhappy. And for me, I just stopped caring. Which I don't know if it's a good solution.
it's on the way to a good one. Yeah. But did you get what Bianca said? That was brilliant. I thought it was lovely. You care so much about having good,
being
actually,
healthy and happy that it makes you unhealthy and unhappy.
yeah. Did you get that?
I hear it, but the pain is driving me. So it's I can't stop caring because it's very painful.
Yes.
But
And we're not actually talking about stopping caring. We're just talking about recognizing that caring so much creates the very
Mhm.
problem that you care about.
So what can I
Mm.
do though? This
Well,
arises to me every day, the craziness. What do I do with it? Just
that's
look
the
at
wrong
it?
question. There is no. See you're saying I have to have an answer to this. What can I do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And there is no answer because you
Like
can't.
I wish I could do what Jack and Bianca are saying, but there's unrest in my system and I don't know what to do. But
That's right. And you don't know what to do. Wonderful. Good. Stay with that. What does it feel like to not know what to do? That's the place to be. That's now. That's here. Doing something about it is fantasy, about the future, about outcomes, about success or failure, etc. Right? Not knowing what to do about it is the perfect place. You can't do anything. You can't say anything. You can't move. Perfect. And from that place, guess what? Something will happen. Something will emerge. And it's not out of a doing. Some action will happen. Who knows what it will be? I don't. But it's most likely to be appropriate when it comes out of that still place of I can't do anything. I don't know what to do. Oh, okay. Here I am, helpless. Can't move. It's the most underrated place there is.
You know, Tammy, um, awake doesn't mean that unrest doesn't happen. It means that the one who has a problem, who needs to find a solution, who needs to attend or change to this apparent problem, it is gone. It doesn't need to be different than what it is. So when something uncomfortable is in the experience, the self needs it to change. Without the self, it can just be there. I think a lot of people have this fantasy that once you are enlightened, that you're just floating on a cloud. But there is no you floating on it. There is no you. There is just what's happening. And what's happening isn't about you because there is no you. It's impersonal.
That's a big one. That's a really big one.
Why I point that out is because you seem to come up with new questions on, well, how do I make this go away? Like how how do I deal with this unrest? And that dealing with the unrest is the self.
Which
Or
creates
then, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know how to deal with it except by going into the mind and trying to solve things. So what would you recommend if I haven't seen through this? What's
So did you just hear yourself say how to deal with it?
Mhm. Oh God, there's no way out. What do I do?
That's well, perfect. I want you where you can't move, right? There is no right way to deal with it because you can't deal with it. See, it's a bit, it's hard to hear. I keep saying it's a bit tricky because everything's a bit tricky, but it's like the only way out of this stuff is through it. And that means you have to be willing to experience the discomfort and pain and everything else that it offers on the way through it. But eventually, as long as you keep facing it and keep wading into it, something will happen. You'll come out the other side. Now, that's a story. I'm promising you something, right? But it's a story. It might not happen. But you certainly aren't going to get anywhere by running away or distracting or resisting. That just makes it all stronger. Right now, your idea about what you need to do, okay, I've got to deal with this, right? And the way you deal with it is you think about it. How's that worked out for you? You've got really good at that, haven't you? You've been doing that for a long time and you've got really, really good at doing it. But it doesn't work, does it?
It seems to work for some things, but not for peace.
Mm.
What is peace?
Not being tense and going crazy.
And what creates tension?
Sometimes it seems I wake up with it, and I assume you would say it's the stories.
Okay, so there's a good one. You assume we would say it's the stories. Okay, don't mimic what you hear. Don't believe what you read, what you see, right? You've got to use those to look for your own experience of that to be true or not true.
Well, I would say, yeah. Sometimes I see it's the stories. Like right now, I'm much calmer, but the second this call ends, I'm gonna have to tense up and man up and go and be a person.
Stop. No, yeah, you don't, how do you know you're going to have to do that?
Because the second I think about it, that's it.
You're
The
already
tense.
thinking about it. You've got a story there now about how you're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
But you don't know. That's just pure fantasy. God, even Walt Disney wouldn't go that far.
So what I was getting at with what creates the tension is that it seems like you have this. So you have an image of what peace is and how that's experienced. And then whenever your experience is not how that image is, then there is a position created on it that makes it wrong. It's not this, so it's wrong. And that is the tension.
So even contraction in the body doesn't mean that there's a self.
Absolutely
No,
not.
a contraction
Really?
in
I
the
thought
body is
contraction
a
was
nervous system response.
to the belief in a self, or not necessarily.
I hesitate to answer this question because you're just going to make a story
I know.
out of it.
I know. I was about to jump on it. Exactly. Because that's where it all starts. I feel the tension, and then I say, "Up, you see, you need to. It means you're not
Yes.
like salvatore. And yeah,
You're
so you're saying
explaining,
it
you're
is
giving
true,
meaning.
but yeah.
Have you ever thought of being an author, Tammy? You would be great at writing those little novellas with drama and all the rest of it, because your mind does it so spontaneously. Because you've been doing it for so long, you can create high drama out of anything.
So the thing is that if something is happening in your experience and you create or a position has been created on that being wrong in some way, that's that's the self. That's the start of, all your stories and trying to get out of it and giving it meaning and finding a solution, and off to the races you go. It's this non-acceptance for what is. So as soon as something is unpleasant or doesn't match up with whatever image you have of the state that you continuously want to be in, then tension is there. And then the mind goes in and tries to solve that tension, when it just creates even more tension, perpetuates it, because you're not accepting what is. And what is what is. So you're just setting yourself up for failure, so to speak.
So what would be better to do when the pain and crazy thoughts and the tension are there in such high amounts?
Well, you hopefully what can happen is a memory of this conversation pops up and reminds you to look at the mind, what it's doing, how it's trying to get out of what's happening. And then that story train just can pass without you buying a ticket to the train. It can just come and go. You don't follow it with your attention. You stay with what is actually happening right now. And then you probably see, I'm betting that your mind now is creating all sorts of new questions. And then you see that. You see the mind is creating all of these new questions because it doesn't want the answer that I'm giving it.
So I guess what would be different than what I've been doing till now is that I feel like I'm always aware of the pain, but now and aware of the thoughts, but just to follow them less. In other words,
And see them for what they're, the illusion that they're creating or trying to create.
So you could do a check, right? So you could look at your thoughts and you could say, are they a raw description of something that is actual, or are they painting a picture about something that's not here? And you don't have to go any further than that. Simply recognizing that you've created an image of something means that you don't need to react to it. Whereas if they're descriptive about something that is actual, then that is in the present. That's something else. What you're going to find is 90% of them are about something that's not here, not actual.
I'm afraid that Marius will be angry at me again that I'm going psychological and off topic, but I'll take the risk.
Assistant on your car after connecting Android Auto.
For me, it's one thing I want not to be in pain, and completely a huge space between this. I want to be healthy and happy.
it's more like right now I'm really calm and at peace here with you guys. And the second this is over, I go into intense pain in the body and craziness in the mind. And I just don't know how to come back here.
Now,
That's basically the bottom line.
do that check that I just said about, apply that to
Yeah.
what you just said. So the moment this is finished, what was that fantasy?
Sorry.
What was the fantasy about what would happen the moment this meeting is finished?
Immediately contraction and pain and craziness in the mind of how to solve this and how do I get back there and why am I not at peace and do I need to change my whole life and should I not see these people again? Should I not perform music? Should I not work? Should I stay at home and be a pile of mush? Should I move to Switzerland? That's how it happens. How am I ever going to get back to peace? Does it mean I'm living my life wrong? Da-da-dum. And if I can't be at peace when I'm not in this meeting, should I stay in bed? Should I get out of bed? Do I need my circadian rhythm? Should I go into the sun? I mean, you guys are only being treated to a wonderful fraction of what happens every second in my mind. So
yeah, so my question was, can you, well, it wasn't a question. Can you do that check that I said about whether this is pointing to something that is here right now, or whether it's a fantasy about something that doesn't actually exist yet? And that check would definitely say that that was a fantasy. It wasn't anything about what was going on right now, was it? It's what will happen when this meeting finishes. Do you see?
yeah.
That's what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, again, don't jump to, I imagine that you'll want to jump to, what do I do about it? Well, you don't. You don't need to do anything about it. Simply become really, really good at seeing whether it's pointing to something that is actual here now, or whether it's about something in the future, something that doesn't actually exist here now. That's all you need to do. See that which one of those things works for every story that you create.
Yeah. And Marius, what you were saying about not wanting to accept what's here now, it's a cycle that reinforces itself, right? Because it just belief in the self or whatever causes contraction, and then that causes trying to solve it, and it's a cycle, and I don't know how to get out of it. But
Whatever you're asking, can you be okay not knowing?
absolutely not. That's why I'm here. Any other questions, Jack?
Because I think you can be.
Yeah.
You have thoughts that tell you you can't, and you believe them. Like, do you even remember your question? Exactly what you said.
Question about what?
The question you just asked. Did it really need to be answered immediately?
So Tammy, when I said to do that check, are you clear about what I'm asking you to do?
You're asking me if the thoughts are pertaining to something happening in the moment or something preparing for the future?
Yes, that's it. So you are clear on it. Yeah. Now, is there an intention there to do it? Can you find something called an intention in you right now that says, I'm going to do that? Or is it the opposite? Is it an intention saying, I'm not going to do that?
The thought is when there's so much pain, of course the thought is about the future, but and how to solve it. But like I don't think I can. But you're saying just try and stay with the pain and not think of how to solve it?
You should be a lawyer. You're really good with these questions. No, I'm not.
It's
Are
just
you
appearing
in
there.
pain now? Because it's not clear to me.
Geez, yeah.
Are you in pain now?
Um,
I don't get why you need to think about that, Tammy. You're either in pain or you're not in pain. Isn't that true?
it's because right now I'm a lot more relaxed and I'm not having as much pain. And then the minute thoughts come in or I start to get up from lying down, the pain comes back.
So now you are in pain, but not so intense.
Yeah,
Did it?
like 90% better. And then the minute I think about getting up or start to move, it comes back.
Okay, so lie there and take a deep breath and watch the pain reduce a little. Now have thoughts about when you get up and how the pain will be a lot more intense and how you won't be able to do what you want to do because of the pain, and etc., whatever else comes along. And watch the sensation of the pain in your stomach. Watch the sensation when you have those thoughts. Let's prove what you said, that the moment you start having thoughts about getting up, it gets worse. Can you do that on purpose? Make
Yeah.
it worse by having those thoughts.
Yeah.
That's easy for you, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Now have thoughts about relaxing and being in the group, feeling calmer. Have thoughts about that. And watch what the sensation does.
Yeah. If things were like this, I could live and be fine. Like, I'm good. I could hang up and be fine if things were like this.
But there's no possibility in your mind that after you get up, things could be like this. Is that true?
No. Yeah, because I know. But
And you know because of past experience?
also because the minute I even think about it, the body starts to pull itself together to act and be a person, and immediately pain and contraction start.
Because that's happened before.
And because it happens now when I even think about it.
Okay.
Where are you going with this, Vince?
I don't know.
You know, sometimes we spiral off to like making the dream prettier. But I kind of want to get you out of that dream, Tammy, or else you just, you might have more or less pleasant experiences. But I want you to see that the meaning making, the interpretation of what is happening is a creation in your mind that doesn't exist outside of your mind. That there is no need for an answer before the question is believed. And you can come up, or the mind can come up with an infinite amount of new questions, new meanings, new interpretations. And as long as there is a need to, or belief that you need to give the mind answers, then you'll be stuck in that loop forever. I want you to see that the mind will do what the mind does, but there is no need to feed it more material. Let it ask, let it go unanswered, let it die.
Mm-hmm.
Just be here with the uncomfortableness. This whole thing is about meeting life raw as it is, without any position on how it should be. What happens is what happens now. The reason why you feel at peace or more at peace in the meetings is because, as you said, you get the reminders here externally of bringing it back to now and seeing the mind for what it does. But that can happen outside of the meetings as well. But you need to look, you need to notice that what we're pointing to, it needs to be seen outside of the meetings as well. Not just go back to the habitual way you've been living, feeding
Which is
all
going into the
thoughts.
mind.
Yeah, feeding the thoughts with more and more energy with your attention. And what usually drives that attention or needing it to be different is the non-acceptance of uncomfortableness. In the form of pain or in the form of boredom, in the form of fear, contraction, needing to explain it, give it meaning, find answers to get away from it.
Did you get what Marius said about feeding the stories? That's a big one.
Yeah. It seems almost impossible because you guys have only seen a fraction of it, but the mind is so powerful. It comes at me with 1,000 thoughts a second. They all seem so fascinating and amazing and strong and needed and necessary and either an emergency or this. It's unbelievable. But and I just go into it. That's where I live. That's where I've been living. So it's to not do that is just.
You know what, Tammy?
Yeah.
I can remember that it was the case for me too. right? The details were different, of course, and I can't remember what it feels like. That's really weird. I can't pull in. It just feels like muddy soup or something, quicksand, something, a trap to get in there and feel what it feels like to have those thoughts do that. But I can remember that it happened to me.
Really?
That my mind was so active all the time, and it's just it's it's hilarious when I think about the difference between then and now. Simply because you've described brilliantly just how pervasive and how active those thoughts are. And even now, a vast percentage of my thoughts are just total crap. It still happens like that. I just don't engage with them mostly. So yeah, maybe I can't appreciate the intensity of it for you as you say it. It does certainly sound extreme in intensity, but I do know that a huge percentage, 99% maybe, uh, is totally unhelpful. It's certainly not the cause of anything other than more reaction into suffering, but it certainly doesn't help in any way.
I guess maybe my organism will just have to make the decision at one point when I feel how I feel now and then go back into the craziness. And at some point, it will have to be like, I don't want that anymore. I don't know. I'm just trying to
Yep.
wonder how it will ever not keep choosing that. But
Well, it doesn't choose that. Like you know what I mean by that. It's not. There's no free will involved in it, but it is a result of your experience. The way you've evolved and so on and so on. But that is an overlay, and so consequently, the possibility of it being different is there, as long as you accept not what it means, but what is actually there. And that's what you don't do. You're very good at not accepting what is actually there.
yeah. And Marius, do you find that pain and anxiety are lessened? So there'll be less to accept?
Well, there's definitely less pain and anxiety created by not accepting what is.
Right.
But it's a bit complicated because pain and anxiety are still interpretations. At some point, even those labels might fall away, and it's just, you know, it's a kind of it's in a way it's the same experience, but in a way not, because it's just what's happening to no one. Um, it's just part of the total experience. It doesn't feel so isolated or contracted. But yeah, I shouldn't even. There's no way for you to understand that through the mind. So just scratch what I just said. Um, but but yes, pain and anxiety is lessened through the non-perpetuating of not wanting it.
Yeah.
But it is, you make a good point, and I don't know if this is actually how it is. This is just how I see it, and that is, I don't even remember what you said, but a thought came up here, which was, at some point here, and it seems like it's a common thing for many people, is that it's noticed how much suffering thought creates, that you start to hate it a little bit. Like, you don't, the allure of creating, the allure of thought loses its power, because it's just so much pain in and suffering in the thought process. You see that you're just creating more suffering by feeding the thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's how the system kind of changes things up, I think. It's just, you have
By
to
seeing the
suffer about
suffering. Yeah.
No, let me jump in here. I was reminded that a very rare event occurred for me this morning, and that is that I woke up with a headache. Hardly ever happens, but I had a headache. I I'm trying to remember, but I don't think I don't remember thinking that I would. I definitely didn't. I definitely didn't think that I would take a painkiller. But I did have a reflection on taking a painkiller, but then I forgot about it. And at some point, the headache wasn't there anymore, and I have no recollection of what time it went, how long it was there for. It seemed now like it was there for, I don't know, an hour and a half or something after I woke up. But it went. And when I say to you, I had a headache, I'm using language to convey, in a traditional sense, the fact that I had a pain in my head. But as soon as I say a pain in my head, it doesn't feel right. Saying it was a headache, other than to describe something to tell you about, doesn't feel right either. There were sensations that were unpleasant in my head. They weren't super intense, but they were there, and they were there enough for me to not want them to be there. I think I had that thought that I didn't want them there, didn't want that sensation, maybe. But then it was gone. That was really interesting. But pain and suffering, tension and anxiety are not words that make any sense when I look at when I remember what my experience was. I could say there was an unpleasant experience in my head. And that's about as accurate as I can be and about as close as I can get to it. But to call it pain and to call it suffering, there was no suffering, because there was no life in the wishing it wasn't there. That was just a kind of a passing thought. Oh, I wonder when it'll go, or I wonder, I don't want it. It's a bit vague now, because it was ages ago. It was this morning. But yeah, my point of saying anything about this was to tell you that the labels pain does not make sense. It wasn't pain. Pain's a thing that, well, pain's a fantasy. It was just, the best I could describe it was to say it was unpleasant sensations.
Yeah, no, that's helpful because you brought to light today about, when we call it something and then it makes it into a thing and solidifies it, that I feel that in my body now as you're speaking about it, how it changes things to call it and stuff. And yeah, so what you were saying, Vince, and what you were saying, Marius, I appreciate it. And I think yeah, I mean, it seems kind of hopeless with all the thoughts coming at me constantly and my habit of going into them. But on the other hand, just the taste of calmerness in these meetings, which I very rarely experience, of just being of the body relaxing, which very rarely happens for me. I think eventually maybe that will be the
Yeah.
something part of the path for me of realizing the consequences of when I even label and watching it contract and watching going into the thoughts. And it's just so pervasive, the thoughts, that it's not even like, oh, experience the peace one moment and then the thoughts another moment. I'm so caught up. So even a few moments here can give me that taste, and then maybe a
Yeah,
choice can come back here.
But recognize what Marius said too. That's very valuable, I think. And that one is, are we just looking for a better experience, or are we actually looking to wake up? I couldn't answer that question then. I have no idea, but it's something to consider. If you're just looking for a better experience, then take a pill. That'll do it. But if you're looking to wake up, there's something a bit serious about that. There's a commitment involved that says, I'm willing to experience the discomfort on the way to it.
Yeah, no, I think if thoughts could bring me a better experience, I mean, that's what the hope is constantly. But as that's failing, I'm coming here for
Yeah.
realizing I might need to wake up to have a better experience. Or not, I don't know. But
Do you get that something I pointed to earlier, that wanting to get a better experience is the self? That without the self, the experience can be how it is?
mhm. You mean the thought that rises up and is believed, this shouldn't be happening, this is bad, I want to solve it, that's the self?
Yeah. Even the meaning you give to what is happening.
Well, that's where I live. It's so strong. So I guess I'll have to start seeing through it. But yeah.
Okay, well, there's another way to look at this, a slightly different one, just a couple of degrees of a different perspective. And that is that you've been trying for a long time to get yourself to feel good using your thoughts, and it hasn't worked. So there's nothing that suggests that you're going to get good at that and be able to succeed in using thoughts to make yourself feel better. In fact, the moment you do use your thoughts to try and make yourself feel better, you create a self which is in trouble. So the opposite happens. So accepting the fact that you're shit at this. There's no way that you use your thoughts to make yourself transcend all of this stuff that's in your life to feel better. It's not going to happen. So consequently, attempts to do it are just a waste of space, and in fact likely to create the opposite to what you intend. So with that realization, every time thought gets going, and it will because it's got a lot of momentum, it's been trained well, when thoughts get going, you can adopt a relationship to them that says, oh, okay, that's just like the wind outside. It's just something that's there. It's not me. It's just a happening. It just happens in this organism that this is the way thoughts work. And so consequently, seeing it like that, I don't need to engage with them. I can just watch or not. I can go back to sleep. Whatever you want. Doesn't matter. But I'm not compelled to engage with them. That is going to be a huge, huge, huge step for you. Do you recognize that you're not compelled to be engaged with them?
It feels like I am, but I will check it out.
Okay. So don't use mind to check it out. Don't use mind to arrive at a conclusion, but rather look for examples in your experience about whether you're compelled to engage with thoughts or not, whether they can just be there without you actually paying homage to them. That's like taking your foot out of the bear trap.
Yeah.
And remember, it's experimental. This investigation thing, it's all a big experiment. Be relaxed, kick back and enjoy the ride. You're on the ride, you can't get off, so you might as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
And notice the buts after the yeah that comes up.
Yeah. So what do I do about it? What do I do?
Just
It's not
notice.
never ending. What do I do?
Just notice. You don't need to do anything but notice that they're trying to hook you into another ride.
Okay. So but notice. Got it.
Yeah. And I presume that your "what do I do" there was big tongue in cheek. You knew what you were saying.
Fortunately, it wasn't. Seriously, it's crazy, but yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Really, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Sammy. Be patient.
It's not my forte, but I will try. Thank you. Mm.
Okay, well, I'll wind up in a few minutes if nobody else has got anything, or if somebody else has, come on in.
I may be shorting. I hope. I was watching my just noticed when waking up is an interesting moment to watch, and I think I caught a moment where I just noticed like consciousness turning on. I think there was a sensation, but I don't know if it was visual or tactile, because there was no label. It's just this where it's appearing. Oh no. It's appearing again.
Notice yourself reincarnating.
Do you mean that you notice a resistance towards life?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I like
Mm.
it's flinch. That's
Mm. So do you have a position on your life? Meaning, is there something?
it wasn't about my life because it was completely unnamed at this moment. It was just there is appearing.
But if there is resistance, there needs to be a position.
Or a habit.
Well, yeah, the position can be habitual, definitely.
Would you say that it was a reaction to something unseen, unknown? But that, oh no,
Mm,
sounds like a reaction.
yes, awareness turning on.
But why not, oh yes?
But even oh yes would be a position. That's why I'm saying there has to
Yeah.
be a self there.
And there has to be a story to react to, either good or bad or whatever. Yeah. I mean, oh yes is a story to look forward to, and oh no is a story to be avoided. Well, we don't have to find answers to that. It's just a case of, yeah, what an interesting experience. Watching consciousness turn on. That's great. I love it. I want it. I want that for myself.
So when there is no self, there is neither oh no, no, oh yes, nothing.
Mm.
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 That's why things like concepts like unity or oneness or things like this can be really um,
Distracting.
a huge trap because you're expecting that is still a framework you're seeing. You're putting a meaning on what's nothing. It's just the opposite of separation, but in truth, it's just nothing or void of a frame. And that's hell for the self because the self can't exist in that. So that's why I'm hammering down on emptiness and not fullness, because the fullness still needs a frame. Emptiness also, but it's more closer to nothingness, or you still need to put a word on it.
I like it, but it is possible, even if not for me. But it's nice to think that it's possible.
We all experience this many times per day. Just don't notice it, because as soon as we
It's like with Vince tinnitus. If you don't notice it, does it even exist? I
exactly
don't get this direct experience because of that. If I don't notice it, it it doesn't exist. It's just a story.
well, what you notice is the thought after the direct experience. The thought that says, "Oh, I just had a direct experience." A memory of the direct experience.
Bullshit thought.
Well, thank you, Bianca. I'm now hearing my tinnitus again.
Yeah, it reminded me of something I picked up on earlier this meeting, Vince, where you said something along the lines to Jack that where you questioned that, do you want to live life not remembering? And I wanted to direct that question to you.
Oh, okay. I don't want to or not want to. It's not a case of wanting, and it's somewhat active, this memory thing. But my experience these days is frequently that I don't remember, but I could probably remember if I put a lot of effort into it, but I don't want to. I couldn't be bothered.
But
So
is there a sense of loss for not remembering?
no, no. In fact, the opposite. It's not. I feel I've gained something from not remembering. Well, gain. That's not quite right way to put it, but yeah, no. It feels like a positive thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird when you don't give meaning or like so much the narration doesn't happen as much and you don't interpret and give meaning to every second, doesn't really get, seems like it doesn't get saved in some
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
You need the story for it to
Yeah.
exist in memory.
And there's a weird contradiction, or well, contradiction, paradox. Paradox is probably a better way to put it. About what this life is, what the experience of, I have to say me, the experience of me, the experience of this organism.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that
I don't
happens.
know. Yeah.
It's just we've put so much importance in, or at least I think that's the sense that I have. That is a common thing. At least that's what happened here. Is it put so much importance in, you know, creating our creating new memories, and um, kind of collecting the memories as treasures of a, and proof of a
Yeah.
life. But there is also a trade-off there that, you know, we're not really experiencing life. We're just collecting memories. So it's kind of either or.
Mm. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's not. It's like I've had such an interesting life. I really have had a very, very interesting life in a lot of ways. Um, had lots of adventures, done a lot of traveling, experienced all sorts of things. I imagine that if I had the right talent, I could write a book and it would be interesting for people to read. But I've forgotten most of it. It just doesn't matter. I mean, what it all ends up culminating in this experience now. So I don't need to remember. There's no, what is it? Am I gonna feel good over having a memory about something? Could I remember myself standing on a cliff top in Greece looking over the ocean? No, I can't remember what it
But
felt
there's a
like.
shift there, right? There's a shift from the attitude of seeing memories as valuable to not.
Yeah,
At some point, you say it doesn't matter, but I bet there was a point in your life where it did matter. I
yeah.
have the same experience. I'm just pointing that there is a shift there somewhere.
Mm,
It's seen as just stories, so no longer important.
yep. But it's a kind of I hang on to this one, and it's another story, but that is that each one of those experiences that I had changed me. So they're in me somewhere. I don't have to make them conscious and reflect on them in order to get value out of them. They've got their value just in me being me.
Yeah.
But I have such a ingrained no to, to life. Mhm. I always wanted to be forgotten. And sometimes I wish I could declutter my memory like I declutter my house.
You could go and get a lobotomy.
Someone who would agree to do lobotomy is most probably not a trusted physician.
Yeah, not the person you'd want to ask. Yeah.
But I guess, the only thing that keeps the memories there, as we just touched on, is the sense of them being important in some way.
Yeah, which is a story about what they mean.
Mm. Which likely is connected to identity,
Mm.
sense of an idea
So
of
I have
who
to
I
ask
am.
Vince, do your memories hold value because they changed you? Like, are you just assuming there's a you in that point, or that there's a self that can assign value? Like, it just seems like your memories happened and you're here now and that's it.
So what was your question?
Is there any value at all? Is there a you that could be changed?
Reminds me about a neuro disorder when there are persons who don't have memory. They have only very short-term memory. So their existence is in this window. But there are changes. If someone is not nice to them, they they don't like this person. They don't know why. So it's not that memories change us, but experiences.
I think I don't know what Vince said, but my take on that is um, experience seems to have an effect on the nervous system, and what Vince perhaps might be pointing to is experience um, in total is, I mean, his nervous system is a combination of all of his previous experiences. But I there is another hidden question there that I can't really answer for Vince that you could ask him. Is there is in what you said, Vince? Is there a belief in a storyline? Because that could sound like that in the way you said it.
A storyline about Vince.
Yeah.
There is a story about a storyline.
Mm.
But about, is there a belief that that doesn't make sense? There's just a story. There's just a storyline, and the story, if I told it now, wouldn't be anything like what actually happened, probably, but it would be the way I remember it. And as close as I can get, Jack, to an answer for your question is that it doesn't make any sense. I can't understand what you mean by value.
I think I was asking Marius this question.
Right.
It sounded like a story to me. And that made me kind of sad because I am still fond of my memories. And currently, I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Well, you may or may not. Just my experience is not necessarily going to be what you'll experience. Yeah.
Very true.
It's hard to put into words to be more accurate about it now. It's not like I don't have memories, but what I call memories are much more obviously stories now to me, and they don't seem to relate. They don't seem to be about a real person. There, I might as well be reading a fiction book with a lot of them. They're just stories. And I guess you could extrapolate and say, well, they never contributed. They never made up me.
Or it's just a memory you construct now, anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
And the next time you construct a memory about the same thing, it's going to be a different construction.
Hmm.
So it's not like we keep
Which does kind of
bringing up the same memory.
yeah. So in a sense, that reduces their value for anything.
Yeah, that's how it's experienced here, is that it's
Well,
fantasy,
there is
like
value
projection.
in remembering that I am allergic to strawberries, for example.
Yeah, that
Yeah, that's not a memory though.
yeah, that's kind of what
How is
get
it not a memory? Every time I ate strawberries,
Yeah. Oh well, maybe you are remembering.
I had pain
Yes.
or something.
Right. So now though, you don't remember the pain of eating strawberries. You just know that you and strawberries don't go together.
Maybe I like strawberries very much.
That would be terrible, wouldn't it? Liking them and having been allergic to them. Wow. Yeah.
Well, it's like with this, I don't trust this person because I remember they stolen money from me.
Well, isn't it more true that it's knowledge, a thought coming up that you don't trust this person, and then the story comes, a memory might come around why you don't trust that person?
Yes, yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't trust some people and I would have no idea why.
But it's at least here, it doesn't seem like the knowledge of something needs to come with a storyline.
It's all of this is so hypothetical. But
Yeah. I agree.
no one here lost memories. Like,
But for you, Jack, it could be valuable to look at the attachment to memories.
Yeah, I suspect it's been burning as we're speaking. Like I guess I can't know, but that's what I'm feeling. You know, which is not a bad place to be. So no sympathy needed, but
None given.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to call it quits. I'm going to go back out to the unreal world and spend some time doing whatever happens out there. See you, everybody.